I think he's the best young 16 player I've ever seen in my life.
Boy, he's just different, man. He's no Michael. You know, if he gets his head on, forget about Michael van Gerwen's records, he's going to beat Phil Taylor's records. If he keeps his head right.
Taken dart into the stratosphere.
And it's only just beginning.
What do you do when you're 18 years old and you've already conquered the world? When you've turned a sport upside down, shattered records that legends spent decades building, and made history that'll be talked about for generations? Luke Littler didn't just win the 2026 World Darts Championship, he demolished it. A 7-1 annihilation in the final. The first ever £1 million prize. And he did it all while becoming only the 4th player in history to defend the world title back-to-back. But here's the thing that should terrify everyone in darts. This kid has only lost 1 match at Alexandra Palace in his entire life. 1 out of 20. And that story begins somewhere you'd never expect. Warrington, England. A pound shop. A father looking for something to keep his toddler entertained. Anthony Buckley picked up a magnetic dartboard for a few quid, brought it home, and handed it to his son. Luke Littler was 18 months old, barely walking, still in diapers. There's video footage of this moment, and it's almost eerie to watch now, because even at that age, something clicked. The kid didn't just throw darts randomly like any other toddler. He focused, he aimed, he threw, and from that single moment in a pound shop, the greatest darts career of this generation was born. By the time Luke was 4 or 5 years old, he wasn't playing with magnets anymore. He'd moved to steel-tipped darts, the real deal. And by age 6 or 7, he was throwing from competition distance, standing at the oche like a professional. Most kids that age are learning to tie their shoes. Luke Littler was already hitting doubles. His parents quickly realized this wasn't just a hobby. This was obsession. This was destiny. And as he grew older, that obsession only intensified. During lockdown, while the rest of the world was baking banana bread and binge-watching Netflix, Luke was in front of his dartboard for hours every single day, perfecting his craft, building the foundation of what would become an unstoppable machine. The darts world started noticing him early. At 14 years old, Luke won his first senior title at the Irish Open in 2021, shocking everyone who witnessed it. But that was just the beginning. In 2022, at the WDF World Championship, he became the youngest player ever to win a match at a senior world championship, beating Ben Hazel in a moment that sent ripples through the sport. Then came December 2022, and Luke won the JDC World Championship at Alexandra Palace, the same venue where he would later make history. He was 15 years old, already a champion, already turning heads. But the real breakthrough was still ahead. November 2023, the PDC World Youth Championship. Luke Littler stepped onto the stage at Butlins Minehead Resort and faced Gian van Veen in the final. This wasn't just any match. Van Veen had topped the Development Tour Order of Merit ahead of Luke, and this was the showdown to determine who truly belonged at the top. The match was electric. 13 maximums, back and forth momentum swings. Luke raced to a 5-1 lead with a blistering barrage of scoring, but Van Veen clawed his way back, threatening an astonishing comeback. In the final leg, Van Veen missed a dart at double 5 to force a decider. Luke stepped up, pinned tops, and won 6-4. He was now the PDC World Youth Champion. He'd secured a 2-year tour card, and most importantly, he'd qualified for the biggest tournament in darts, the PDC World Championship at Alexandra Palace. The kid from Warrington was about to shock the world. December 2023. Luke Littler entered the World Championship, ranked 164th in the world. Nobody expected anything. He was 16 years old, making his debut, facing grown men who'd been playing professionally longer than he'd been alive. His odds were 66-1, but then he started playing, and everything changed. First round, Christian Kist, a former BDO world champion, demolished 3-0 with a 106.12 average, the highest ever recorded in a first-round match at the World Championship. Second round, third round, fourth round, Luke kept winning. He wasn't just beating his opponents, he was dominating them. And then came the giants. Raymond van Barneveld, 5-time world champion, one of Luke's childhood idols beaten. Rob Cross, 2018 world champion, beaten 6-2 in the semi-finals. At 16 years and 347 days old, Luke Littler was in the World Championship final. The atmosphere at Alexandra Palace was unlike anything darts had ever seen. Crowds were chanting, "You've got school in the morning," as Luke stepped to the oche. The media couldn't get enough of him. His Instagram followers exploded from a few hundred to over 700,000 in 3 weeks. He was front page news across Britain. And in the final, he faced Luke Humphries, the world #1, the best player on the planet. For a moment, it looked like the fairy tale would come true. Luke went up 4-2, one set away from a 5-2 lead that could have sealed it, but he missed double two, and Luke Humphries, sensing his moment, came roaring back, winning 5 straight sets to claim the title 7-4. The 16-year-old had lost, but he'd won £200,000, jumped to 32nd in the world rankings, and captured the imagination of millions. More importantly, he'd tasted defeat on the biggest stage, and he would never forget it.
But there's one thing I do believe, and that you will be world champion one day. That is no doubt in my mind at all. But
2024 was the year Luke Littler learned how to win when it mattered most. He was handed a Premier League debut, an honour that confirmed his arrival as a superstar. And in May, at the O2 Arena in London, he won his first major title, beating Luke Humphries 11-7 in the final, after hitting a 9-darter in the 11th leg. The crowd went berserk. From January through July, Luke won at least one title every single month. Belgian Darts Open, Austrian Darts Open, Poland Masters, Players' Championship events. He was everywhere, winning everything, stacking trophies like they were going out of style. And then came September, and the World Series of Darts finals, where Luke claimed his second major by cruising past Michael Smith, 11-4, in the final. But the crowning moment of 2024 came in November at the Grand Slam of Darts. Luke threw 60 180s across the tournament, setting a new record, and won his third major title. He was no longer a prodigy. He was a champion. The 3rd of January 2025, the World Championship final. 1 year after heartbreak, Luke Littler was back, and this time he was ready. His opponent, Michael van Gerwen, 3-time world champion, the previous youngest world champion at age 24, and one of the greatest players in history. Before the match, Luke did something unusual. He watched the entire 2024 final against Luke Humphries, reliving every painful moment, every missed double, every lost set. He needed to remember what it felt like to lose so he'd never let it happen again. And when he walked onto that stage, he was a different player. He raced to a 4-0 lead, suffocating Van Gerwen with relentless scoring. The Dutchman fought back to 5-2, but Luke shifted into another gear, romping to a 7-3 victory with a 102.73 average and 12 maximums. At 17 years, 11 months and 13 days old, Luke Littler became the youngest world champion in darts history. The tears flowed, the crowd erupted, and Luke lifted the Sid Waddell Trophy, knowing this was only the beginning. 2025 wasn't just about winning the World Championship, it was about total domination. In March, Luke demolished James Wade, 11-2, in the UK Open final, claiming his 5th major. In the Premier League, he topped the table with 6 nightly wins, a new record, and reached the final before losing to Luke Humphries, 11-8. But that was the last time he'd lose anything that truly mattered. In July, at the World Match Play in Blackpool, Luke completed the Triple Crown. He beat James Wade, 18-13, in the final, firing a 107.24 average and smashing the record for most 180s in the tournament's history, with 64 across the week. He'd come back from 5-0 down, from 7-3 down, proving he had the mental toughness to match his talent. At 18 years old, he joined Phil Taylor, Michael van Gerwen, Gary Anderson, and Luke Humphries as the only players ever to win the World Championship, World Match Play, and Premier League. October brought the World Grand Prix, and Luke thrashed Luke Humphries 6-1 in the final, closing the gap at the top of the rankings. Then, in November, came the moment Luke had been chasing all year, the Grand Slam of darts. Luke won the tournament, and with it, he became world number 1 for the first time in his career. A week later, he added the Players' Championship finals to his collection. By the end of 2025, Luke Littler had won 6 of the 8 PDC majors. He held the World Championship, UK Open, World Match Play, World Grand Prix, Grand Slam, and Players' titles. He'd won 37 of his last 38 matches at televised ranking majors. He was 18 years old, and he was about to defend his world title. The 2026 World Championship wasn't a question of if Luke would win. It was a question of how dominant he'd be. Seeded number 1, the odds-on favourite, the reigning world champion, and world number 1, Luke carried the weight of expectation onto the Alexandra Palace stage, and he made it look effortless. He dropped just 4 sets in the entire tournament, the lowest number for a world champion since Phil Taylor in 2010. In the first round, he survived an early scare against Darius Labanauskas, but won 3-0. Second round, David Davies had 3 set darts to claim the first set, but couldn't capitalise. Luke broke him and coasted to another 3-0 whitewash. Round after round, Luke kept winning, kept averaging over 100, kept hitting 180s at a frightening pace. The fourth round brought Rob Cross, the 2018 world champion, and this was Luke's toughest test. Cross pushed him hard, but Luke came through 4-2, showing the grit and determination that separated him from everyone else. In the quarter-finals, Krzysztof Ratajski was obliterated 5-0. In the semi-finals, Ryan Searle won the opening set, but Luke fired a 105.35 average and 10 maximums to win 6-1, barely breaking a sweat. And then came the final. Gian van Veen, the 10th seed, the Dutchman who Luke had beaten in the 2023 Youth Championship. History was about to repeat itself. Van Veen took the first set, and for a brief moment, it looked competitive. But after the break, Luke came out like a man possessed. He won 7 sets in a row. 7. Van Veen couldn't get near him. Luke hit 15, 180s, landed a 170 checkout, and averaged 105 across the match. The final scoreline read 7-1, a complete and utter demolition. Van Veen admitted afterward that Luke was unplayable, that he put you under pressure every single leg, every single set, and if you missed a double, the leg was gone. Luke Littler had become only the 4th player in history to defend the World Championship title, joining Phil Taylor, Adrian Lewis, and Gary Anderson. He was the first to do it since Anderson in 2016. And at 18 years old, he pocketed the first ever £1 million prize in darts history, cementing his place as the most dominant force the sport has ever seen at such a young age. So what makes Luke Littler so unstoppable? It's the speed. It's the rapid-fire 180s that he throws in bunches, splattering the treble 20 bed with machine-like precision. It's the 107, 108, 109 averages that have become his standard. It's the mental strength to come back from deficits, to thrive under pressure, to perform when the lights are brightest. It's the fact that he's won 19 of his 20 matches at Alexandra Palace, with his only loss coming in the 2024 final. It's the longer format that plays to his strengths, allowing him to lock in and hit those incredible purple patches where he becomes untouchable. Experts say he's playing at the level Phil Taylor and Michael van Gerwen were at in their primes. At 18, he's already reached greatness. And the scary part? He's only getting started. Luke Littler now has 9 PDC major titles, placing him 4th on the all-time list. He's won back-to-back Grand Slams, back-to-back World Championships, and he's showing no signs of slowing down. When asked about matching Phil Taylor's record of 16 world titles, Luke laughed and said, "Another 15, 16 years, I'd say, but I'll be around for a very long time. I'm here to win." He's already transformed darts the way Tiger Woods transformed golf, bringing in new fans, inspiring thousands of kids to pick up darts, and proving that age is just a number when you have the talent, dedication, and hunger to be the best. The Luke Littler era isn't coming, it's already here. And if the last 3 years have taught us anything, it's that this 18-year-old kid from Warrington isn't just destroying everyone right now, he's building a legacy that could redefine what's possible in darts. The question isn't whether he'll keep winning. The question is, can anyone stop him?